everyone, and welcome to Everything Under the Moon. I am your host this evening. My name is Becky McKiddy-Gydesen, and with me tonight is my co-host Kyrra. How are you doing tonight, Kyrra?
I'm doing good despite it feeling it's a million degrees outside already. How are you doing, Becky?
Feeling that heat for sure. It started out to be kind of slow getting there this year. We had a lot of 80s and 90s, which I loved the
hmm
80s. But now since it's starting to get in that triple digit, yeah, you're starting to feel it.
Yep. I was like, I had to be outside for maybe 10 minutes for work doing something. And I was like, I am drenched. And that was like at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, man,
It's like opening an oven door. It's just like it just hits you all at
yeah,
once.
it's going to get even worse. I'm like, no.
Yep, it is. Well, tonight, our special guest, we are welcoming back Joni. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you guys? Besides hot.
Surviving the heat, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You guys are a little warmer than we are. I'm Southern Indiana, and we've been getting up into the mid 80s lately, but the humidity's just been crazy. So it's like walking outside, not getting hit by an oven, hit by like a wet diaper. It's very, very hot and humid.
Yes, I remember those days because I'm from Ohio, and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember, it was just like, why shower? You just go outside and you're drenched.
Yes, most definitely.
So I honestly cannot tell you which is worse, the opening of the oven door or going outside and getting drenched. I don't know which is which.
Neither is good. So,
Yeah.
it's just the time of the year, I guess.
Yeah. But, what I am thankful for, though, is, during the winter, I'm not having to worry about freezing pipes. That I am thankful for.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did not. I mean, when I lived in Ohio, I was young, so it didn't bother me. But now, since I'm older and I've been in Arizona for so long, yeah, I can't handle a winter anymore. There's no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Not anymore.
Mhm.
We've been thinking about moving in a few years down the line. And one of the things I had said was wherever we move to cannot have cold winters. I'm like, I cannot do cold winters anymore. No way.
Mhm. I hear you.
So I'm like, so wherever we move has to have a decent winter. I don't care if it, gets, 40s, 50s. I can handle that. But anything below freezing, forget it. I'm not moving there. Wipe that one off the face of the earth. Nope, I'm not doing it.
Like for me, my big thing is like I basically grew up in Arizona. My family moved here when I was like barely 2 years old. So trying to drive anywhere with snow or ice freaks me out to no
Mhm.
end. So I was like, I cannot be somewhere. I was like, I don't want to drive anywhere where it's like icy or snowy or anything. That's the thing that
Yeah,
bothers me.
I hear you. I lived in Massachusetts for 30 years, and so I got pretty acclimated to driving in bad weather. Sorry, I'm trying to mess with my camera, and I probably shouldn't. Um, so I'm definitely excited to be somewhere where we don't get that much snow. We do get some snow, but maybe a couple of it. Last winter we got like one snowfall was like 16 inches, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
So hoping we don't repeat that anytime soon. That because nobody has snow plows in this town, and you just have to sit and wait for it to melt at that point.
Yeah, I don't think we have no snow plows here in Arizona. So if it snows an inch, we're screwed.
Yeah, you just have to sit and wait for it to melt.
Which will be in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, it has snowed in Tucson before, but it does not last long. I think,
Hmm.
by midday, it's like gone. It's like
Yeah.
my kids would go out, build like a, snowball and, and then it's like gone. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, more snow.
Yeah, definitely.
But, they like the snow. And I tell them, I'm like, yeah, the snow's great when you don't have to drive in it.
Yeah, it's nice if you can just sit and look at it out the window and then, have it go away momentarily. It's good for a little while, but, after like a week or two or a month, it's like awful. Or Massachusetts, like 4 or 5 months. So, Yeah, I was happy to move further south, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how, here in the US, we can have one extreme type of weather to the other extreme, in the US alone. It just amazes me how different the
Yeah,
climates
different
are throughout the
climates.
US. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just is so amazing. Because other
yeah.
people don't get that. Other people in other countries are like, how do you do that? But it's cool and I like that. But I know better now and I know to stay away from
Yes.
freezing cold
Yeah,
states. I know that now.
that's true.
So, Joni, we had you on our show before, and we never did get to talk about everything we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So I know, like, you've written books, you have a ghost tour, and you do so much that I don't even know if we'll be able to cover it all, but I want to try to cover it all. And I wanted to do this in person too. I want to thank you for helping me get my book out there because if it wasn't for you, it would have taken me so much longer to get my book on paranormal out there. You knew what you were doing. You got it out there. I'm so thankful for
Well,
that.
I'm glad everything went well.
Yes.
It's always crazy formatting books because each one's a little bit different, and you get it up and it looks great on my end, and then you look at it when it comes in, and it's like, okay, this is not right. So I'm glad you were patient with me as well because it's frustrating sometimes, but we just stick with it. We just keep going, until it comes out. So.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that because I was lost. I was literally lost on what do I do? And for the longest time, I put off publishing it to begin with because I was scared to have my work out there. And
Yeah.
Kyrra worked really hard with the history, and May worked really hard on the editing. And I felt guilty not putting it out there because they worked really hard. So I'm like, oh, fine. And my husband's like,
Yep.
just do it, And I'm like, fine. But I mean, I've had people read it. I had people say that it was an easy read. It flowed good, that, they really liked it. So
Hmm.
I decided to start working on a second book. So we're
Okay,
already in
cool.
works of a second book. So
Awesome. Awesome. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's
So we're
great.
excited. The whole team's going to be a part of it. So it's very exciting. And I know, how many books have you done? I know you've done several, right?
26.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been writing since I was, old enough to write, started off I wrote more books than I published. I wrote 3 full novels that were practice novels. They weren't good enough to be published. And when I wrote the 4th one, I tried to find an agent because back in those days, that was the only way to get published was to find a literary agent and have them shop your books and it was, easier to get struck by lightning because you were competing against a lot of people. And after, being turned down by like 50 different literary agents, I said, self-publishing was fairly new. And I thought, I'm just gonna self-publish. And I had to figure out how to format, like I had no idea what to do. And it took me a while. Like the first couple versions were awful, like looking at them. The book was good, but the way it looked was not great.
Right.
And so that's where I cut my teeth. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. This is going to be great. And I think I sold like 4 copies the first month. So I was very, sad, but it didn't deter me. I just kept doing it. And it really wasn't until I started writing True Paranormal that I really started getting my fan base. And Soul Collector was my very first True Paranormal story. And that went really well. It was #1 in its category in occult nonfiction on Amazon. And, it kind of launched my paranormal career all over, between, the paranormal investigations and the writing. So that I kept with that for a while. And now I'm kind of on to paranormal fiction. I really like writing fiction. My readers don't necessarily follow me into fiction, but
Right.
I have this series that I just adore, and it's the Shelby and Fugly paranormal thrillers. and it follows a woman named Shelby and her dog Fugly, who is not always a good boy, and she's a location scout for a paranormal show. So they send her in to scout out the location and line up people for interviews, like, and she always brings her dog with her. And she runs into some really horrific things. And I try to base it pretty similar to things that I've experienced. So, and I use it as a teaching tool. So I talk about all kinds of things, different types of entities, different types of ghosts, things like how to ground yourself, how to shield yourself. And Shelby is a clairaudient, which I am as well. So I hear sounds and it alerts me to whether there's ghosts nearby. And I just started my 5th Shelby book. So I'm actually about halfway through it. So I'm kind of taking my time with it. But yeah, it gets me into, the first one took place in an old asylum similar to Waverly Hills. So, it's kind of fun for me. I get to go on vacation and go, ghost hunting without leaving the house,
There you go.
Yeah. That would be fun, but
Yeah.
And then I know besides your books, you do own a ghost company.
I do. Yep. Haunted New Harmony. Yep.
And
Haunted New Harmony Ghost Walks.
And how long have you had that?
Next year will be my 10th year. So 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But started, so I told you I'd lived in Massachusetts. My children had grown up and left the nest. I did grow up in this area. And I thought, I was kind of at a crossroads in my life. Like I wasn't really seeing my kids that much, but I had parents here in Indiana that, were getting on in the years, and I wanted to spend some time with them while I still had parents. And so I made the decision 10 years ago to move here. And what I wasn't expecting was when I came to this town, every building is haunted. Like the haunting is just incredible here. There's something about the vibe here. Very small town, very historic. And so I started asking people questions, and I started, going into buildings and getting permission to investigate. And I ended up writing Haunted New Harmony. And I found that I really enjoyed talking about those stories. And I thought, this is a tourist town. Why am I not doing ghost walks? So I set up a website and, stood on the corner of my clipboard and my lantern. And eventually people started showing up. And now I have 5 tour guides and myself. And, it's kind of slow right now, but we'll get really busy as the season progresses. So.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't know about you, but I know I have competitors here. Do you have competitors that are nationwide there?
I have them trying to come in. They're trying to post looking for a tour guide on Indeed. But they've been looking for a year now and they haven't found anybody. And I think it's because I don't mean this to sound arrogant, but I'm the only one in the area that does this. And they don't want to go up against our following. So people in this town are kind of protective of us as well. So if they do show up here, I can't get involved, because I don't want to be sued. But I'm telling you, the people in this town will be protesting and interrupting, and it's not going to be a pretty sight. And I think people probably suspect that. Like I've had a couple people approach me and they said that they interviewed with them and they were promising them 30 or 40 people a night. I'm like, that's really good. That'd be great. I'd like that too.
Yeah.
Saturday night I had 4 people, and Friday night we had 5. So, it's like, I don't know where they plan on getting those 30 or 40 people, but, they haven't hired anybody yet. And hopefully they don't, because I just don't want to go down that road. It's awful what they're doing.
Yeah, it is. And I'm thankful that they have not been to your town yet, and hopefully they stay out of your town.
Yeah.
I have them here, and I know of other people that have to deal with them, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a horror story. It really is. Their marketing, they really take over the Google, they take
Yep.
from the local people, and it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it's
They
just,
steal. Did they steal your scripts?
I don't know, because I refuse to pay anyone to go on the
Yeah.
tour and find out. I'm like, I'm not giving them money. But I've
Mm-hmm.
heard that they do that. Now, if they stole from me personally, I don't know, because I refuse to, pay to have someone go and be a spy. And I'm like, I'm not giving them money. I'm like, I'm just,
Yeah. I got a
but
hold of
I've
one
heard
of
that
their
they do.
I got a hold of one of their scripts. So somebody who interviewed with them and was thinking about taking the job came to town and realized that their locations were way far away, and it made no sense to do it the way they did it. And as we're talking, and I'm explaining, kind of the longevity of our, we're almost 10 years, and we've got quite a following. And he decided he didn't want to do it, and what they were trying to do wasn't ethically aligned with him. So he ended up giving me the script.
Oh, wow.
So I got to see their script, and it was kind of laughable. Some of it was like verbatim my script. They even mentioned my name at one of the locations. They say paranormal investigator Joni Mayhan discovered this at this location. I'm like, that is just bold, right?
Yeah.
But other ones, it's
Crazy.
almost like they use AI to try to
Yeah,
find things.
I've heard that too.
Well, and I think they pulled a lot of their locations are places we've done public investigations, and I would write blogs about our investigation and the location and the history. So the ones that they knew about were the ones from those blogs. So I locked those down, and they're password protected now. If anybody wants to read them, they have to come to me for the password. And I just quit putting anything up with history. And even in our pictures, when we post pictures from our ghost walk, I really try to make sure that the locations aren't visible so they don't have everything.
Right.
We have 3 different ghost walks. Well, 4 if you count our golf cart ghost walk. But, so there's a lot of material there that they don't need to get a hold of, because it's stuff I uncovered. It's like, we know about the haunting because we did the investigation, like it's just wrong for them to come in and steal all of our hard work and, take it as their own. So,
yeah, that's what frustrates me too, because everything on my tour that I do is basically personal. We've done the research. Well, Kyrra did an awesome with the research, because I had the research, but then she went down that rabbit hole and dug even deeper and was able to find even more. But we've also investigated pretty much all the buildings except for maybe 1 or 2 that we weren't allowed into. So a lot of the stories are very personal or personally told to us.
Yeah.
And so our script is completely ours. Nobody else should have access to it at all. But unfortunately, I have 2 competitors in Tucson.
Oh, no. Wow.
And I don't think, I haven't paid anyone to do their tours or anything like that. But I can't imagine them having the stories and the history that we have, because we live here. I've been doing this for 13 years. So there's a lot that has gone into it. And so it is heartbreaking when these people come in and they just like make it up as they go along,
Yeah, that's not it. Well, and there's my town is overseen by a lot of groups. Like one is called Historic New Harmony, and the other is the State of Indiana University or State of Indiana Museum Sites, and they have already expressed that they are going to fight it if they do come. Like in one case, there's a old cemetery that I have permission to walk in because they trust me. They know I'm careful. They know I watch people. They know that nothing bad is going to happen. So I'm allowed to go, places somebody else may not. Right. And the woman in charge of that cemetery said if they do come, she's going to put a lock on that gate, and I'll be the only one with the access at night. So, that'll be nice. But yeah, it's going to get ugly if they end up here. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
our town is a population 700. You know, like there's,
right.
it's not like we're a big, big city. We get
Right.
tourists in the weekends, but not enough to support 2 ghost walks. I mean, it doesn't really even support me, to be
Right.
honest. If I didn't have my books and, other endeavors, it wouldn't be enough for me. So I
Yeah.
don't know how they think they're going to carve. Of course, I've heard they don't care. They'll spend more
Yeah.
money in a month on advertising than they'll get back.
Yeah. I
Just to
don't.
try to put me out of business,
Yeah, I think that's their main goal is to
Yeah.
just, stick it to the little guy. I truly
Hmm.
believe that that's their
Yeah.
main goal. And it's sad. And I would never do that.
It's
Like right
just
now,
despicable.
yeah, like right now, I'm trying to do the second book and I'm reaching out to other like companies and teams and saying, hey, do you know of any locations? If so, if you could help me get in there and I'll mention you in the book. But the problem is these people are so scared because of companies like that they don't want to share a location with me because they're afraid I'm going to scoop it and do a tour. And I'm like, I don't make enough money on my tours to start a second tour,
Exactly.
Yeah.
that kind of money.
Right. I know. I mean, we're not getting rich on this. And I don't know, how they're justifying, it's almost just a hateful venture.
Yeah.
Like they're not making any money on a lot of these towns. I know, I've followed several ghost tour people, and, one guy said, they're spending like $4,000 a month on advertising. And he said, that's a lot more than I make,
Yeah.
in ghost tours. And it's like, what is the purpose of that? Is it just to put me out of business? There's no real rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah. All we can do is hope that they run themselves down a freaking drain and can't afford to do them anymore, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. I know. I
'Cause
know. Or,
that's about
keep
it.
chasing off tour guides, like, making their life a living hell. So,
Yeah, I've heard they don't treat their tour guides very well either. I've heard that too, but
yeah.
it's all
I've heard that
rumors,
as
so I
well.
don't know. But
Yeah.
I just know it's very hard for small companies like ours. But luckily, you don't have that competition, so that's a good
Yeah.
thing for you. And luckily, you have a town that's very very protective of you, which
Yes,
sounds
that's awesome.
wonderful.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know,
mean, I know a lot of these people. It's a small town, it's like I
yeah,
know a lot of the business owners, the people that run the facilities we talk about. And, I'm genuinely concerned about, their livelihood as well. Like I
right,
promote the local businesses, and, I'm cautious with the stories. There was one story I knew about a location that I didn't share because it was a guest house and I didn't want people to be afraid to stay there.
right.
So, we do things like that. And on their script, I saw one place they said that it was cursed, that anybody enters the second floor is, going to walk away with a curse. And I'm like, you can't, that's not making friends with the locals,
Right.
when you're making them upset. So, yeah, no, it's not good. But I do love doing ghost walks. It's like, except for when it's really hot and humid. we
Yes.
we had one on Saturday night, and we're a golf cart community, so if I only have 2 people signed up, I'm going to take them on my golf cart, and there's no
Right.
walking.
Nice.
We're just driving, and it's great. Well, I thought I only had 2, and then I had 2 more walk up, and they were a great group. I really enjoyed them, but it was like so hot and so muggy, and the mosquitoes were like ready to
Oh
carry us
no.
off. So
Ooh,
by the
yeah.
time we got back, we were all pretty, drenched, and
Yeah,
bug
that's
eaten.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Tucson, we're a bigger community and I've tried to keep my tours within there's good reason. Like it's like a 90-minute ghost tour because I used to have it longer and I don't even cover half the buildings that I could in downtown Tucson. But it's like, especially during the summer, it's like after, that 90 minutes, people were leaving.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yep, no, this is too much. So I had to cut the tour down. And even
That's
at
how
the
long
90 minutes, it's
ours are
pushing.
90 minutes. Yeah. I think any more than 90 minutes, and, you're exhausted too. The
Mhm.
tour
Yeah,
guides
of
Yeah.
can't,
course.
it's hard to do much more than that.
Yeah, for sure. But I
Yeah.
definitely had to cut it down a little bit because our downtown Tucson, there's so many stories there. And,
Hmm.
I'm like, if I ever did good enough and I had enough, I guess people to work for me and money to do it, I could make a second tour just in downtown Tucson and do the other half of downtown Tucson.
Yeah.
They
Right.
even have, like information and everything. It's just right now things are so slow and with the
Yeah.
competition, I'm like, I'm just waiting it out and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
So,
I just hired 3 new tour guides and just training them right now. And so they may not be getting a whole lot, as far as walks, but it's good. I think it's easier for them to learn on, 2 to 4
yeah,
people instead of 19.
For sure.
right.
And we'll get going pretty soon. I mean, it's like we're always really slow in May for some reason, and then June we start picking up again. So I think graduations and
Mhm.
school letting out and all that prom, you know, like we're running into a lot of things, and then you get into June and people are like, "All right, I'm ready." Um,
Yeah.
do you ever have any special events or anything? Like, do you ever do anything different, like have a themed walk?
No, I haven't done anything like that. Any of our special events are usually like the ghost hunts. We'll have us locations that we only do ghost hunts at like once a year or once every, few months.
Yeah.
Like every year we work with the Historical Society here in Tucson. That's coming up October 17th. So that's our like yearly
Hmm.
event. But no, I don't have any special ghost walks. And as I said, it's really hard with my ghost walks right now. I have 2 employees. I mean, they're doing decent, but it's not to where I feel like I could really get anyone to, I guess, get involved in something special when it comes to a ghost walk. I think that's
We've
more.
been doing we try to do I haven't had well we try to do as many as we can because it kind of brings people out like for something different, people that have already taken our tours. And probably our most successful one is a really weird one. It's the Ghost Walk Egg Hunt.
Oh,
Oh,
And
really?
nice.
yeah. And again, we're a small town. So, there's a lot, it's not a downtown with a lot of buildings. There's a lot of green space. And we hide glow in the dark Easter eggs. And inside of them could be candy or it could be a little slip of paper that gets a free book or a free t shirt or something like that. And we ended up having over 90 people for that.
Oh,
So it's
whoa.
like, and we were short. That's why I ended up hiring more people because we only had 3 of us doing it, and it was crazy. So yeah, and then we have our zombie ghost walk. We've got a pretty good following. We have people that love to do this. They'll get dressed up like zombies and they'll hide along the route and jump out at people as we're walking by. The only problem with that is they get me first because I'm the first one. And
Yes.
so I'm, wetting my pants all night long. And they try to get me, it's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
it becomes a game, but everybody loves that one. And then if we have a Friday the 13th, we have people dressed like Jason hiding behind trees and stepping out and stuff.
Mhm.
And that's fun. So, and then Halloween, we have the weekend, our biggest weekend. I think it's on the 24th this year, but we'll have people in costumes hiding along the route. And we're in costume too. So it's kind of fun for us. We spend all year thinking about what we're going to wear for the ghost walk.
Yes.
And we try to come up with some really crazy costumes, but then we'll have people, jumping out at the walk. And we made somebody cry last year.
Oh,
So
no.
that wasn't a goal, but we scared her too well, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I don't know how. I don't think that would work for us though, because of the fact that we're in the downtown area. It's very
yeah,
populated. I'm like, yeah, I can just see these people getting arrested or something.
yeah, or
Yeah.
shot,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're with people know they know not to expect anything normal from me. So if it's a Friday or Saturday night and there are zombies in town, it's probably something Joni's doing. So, they don't bat an eye. But yeah, one of my tour guides that I just hired, I met her. I met her when one Halloween. It's been quite a few years ago. I invited people on our Facebook page to come and haunt the walk. And I really kind of wanted them to come to me first so I could tell them where to go and, don't jump out and grab people or anything like that. Right. But as I'm doing the ghost walk one night, this bride goes gliding by, like kind of at a distance. And as she got a little bit closer, you realize she was holding a severed human head in her hand by the hair, and it was a man, and then and I had no idea who she was. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, I knew it was a person, but my reaction was just as pure as my group. They're like, oh my God, what is that? And she started coming to a lot of the walks, and then I finally figured out who she was. And then when I posted something on Facebook that I was looking for more guides, she said, I've always wanted to be on the other side of what you do, and would you consider me? And I'm like, we've already got the scare factor down pat, So I ended up hiring her, and she's doing fabulous. Like, she's so good. And she brings her son. She has 3 little boys, and the oldest one, his name is Trace, and he has this morph costume. That's not the right name, but it's after some kind of comic book character, and it's all silver. But he's very agile. He can skitter on the ground on his hands and feet like a crab, and he can walk on his hands. And he's not afraid. He just comes skittering up to the group, and everybody jumps and scatters and screams. And he is so good. So hopefully we'll still have Trace this year, even though his mom's doing tours. But yeah, we have a lot of fun. Like, we always look forward. Halloween's, it's crazy. And I know you know this too, because people think of ghost walks in October more than they think about them in June.
Right.
So we'll go from having, 5 or 6 to 40, like it just gets crazy. So we're exhausted, by the end of October, doing one tour after another.
Right.
So it's a good fun diversion.
Yeah. I always say in the month of October, I don't have time to breathe. So
no, I know. And I get libraries and different groups wanting me to come do presentations, and I'm like, I know this is your favorite month for doing these things, but you would be costing me money, like, to come do a free library. I did last year. I did a free library event, and like 15 people showed up and only 2 bought books. And I could have been doing a ghost walk where I could have, done a lot better. So, I mean, I guess it's good to do those every once in a while, but not in your busy week. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not in October, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I tell people that too. I get people that are like, oh, we want you to do this in October. And I'm like, unless it actually deals with some type of event where I get to ghost hunt or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll do it, when it's not my busy season.
Right. Yeah. We run businesses, and we have to be smart in our decisions. I mean, we want to be supportive to the community, but, everybody wants to talk to me in October. Talk to me in, June, because I'll have plenty of time, because ghosts are not just out in October, they're around all the time. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And I know Kyrra, and because you've written all these books, you have a ghost walk and all this stuff. And Kyrra is our historian, and like I said, she has done all the history on our tours and on my book and everything. So I'm sure she'd like to hear something about history from you, because that's what she's really into.
Okay. Well, I initially did I'm a history nerd. So I love this town. And I want to know everything I can know about it. So I'm constantly reading or asking questions. And I spent a lot of time at our library in the archives. They were pulling maps and pictures and files. But this town is the site of 2 former utopian societies, which is so cool. So the first one came in 1814, and that was 2 years before Indiana was even a state. It was a group of German Lutherans who were attempting to escape religious persecution. So they came to the United States so they could do things their own. And they put 800 people into boats and wagons and made the trek here. And there was nothing here. There was the only other substantial city was town of Vincennes, which is 50, 60 miles away, like good, maybe longer than that. But, so if they didn't bring it with them, they had to make it. And 1814, I mean, there was nothing but swamp and trees and forests. And, we're a river town. We're right along the Wabash River. And they when they came here, they also felt the spiritual vibe. Like people talk about this town, they say it's a thin place, that the veil between the living and dead is thinner here. And I've heard that from people that I would have never expected to hear that from. In the 10 years I've been, or 9 years I've been doing these ghost walks, I really have had no protests. No, I will say sometimes the church ladies side eye me at recycling. But, otherwise, I've really gotten no pushback at all from these tours. Mostly because I'm respectful about the history. Like our tours are, I'd say probably 80% history and 20% hauntings, or maybe not even that, because we talk about architecture and just interesting stories that I've dug up. Like there's one story about a man who he was actually the first president of Purdue University, and his father was one of the Utopian Society founders, and he came to New Harmony to visit, and he went to the general store with a friend, and they bought what they thought was mineral water. It had been mislabeled. It was embalming fluid. And he drank some and he died. Died right here in town. And they're just crazy stories like that. Like, I don't say that he's haunting. I don't even know where he was when he drank it. But, I'm sure he's probably not happy about his outcome. But, just so many stories. There's another school teacher that was here during the Second Utopian Society who fought under Napoleon. And he was a Frenchman, and he came here because they had started a Pestalozzi school system, which is hands-on learning instead of book learning. And they recruited him to come to the United States to be a teacher. And one of his wishes was he had gotten shot in the head and had a bullet in his head his whole life. He said, whatever you do, don't bury me with that bullet in my head, take that out before I get buried. And they did. So, so those are not necessarily ghost stories, but I think they're fascinating. Like I love those little tidbits of history that really nobody knows about. I found out from the historians, in town and from books and whatnot, because I'm a constant researcher. I'm always looking for new stuff. But yeah, so the first Utopian Society was here for 10 years, very successful. They built 180 buildings, and of that, 24 are still standing, which this is over 200 years ago. So, and that says a lot. The Harmonists, the first group were called the Harmonists. They were excellent builders. Things they built stood the test of time. But also the town of New Harmony loves their old buildings. Instead of tearing it down and putting a Dollar General there, they raise funds, they do grants, they do public fundraisers, and wealthy people step forward and give them money, and they preserve these buildings and keep them up and running. So, it's a pretty fascinating area to be able to walk through, and see the same buildings that were here back when the first Utopian Society were here. So it's just, I don't know. I love the history. I love the stories. So I'm with you. I'm always got my nose in a book or in a library or, online looking something up.
Yeah, for sure. I always find it so rewarding too, especially when you can get it to line up with things, whether you investigated there and then something you're like, that makes total sense why we experience this or why this happens and stuff like that. It's always
We
super
actually,
rewarding.
that makes me think of a story that we uncovered during investigation. So we were at the old community house building where they would have meals on the first floor and group endeavors, and then second and third floors were dormitory rooms. And this building looks just like it did back in the day, like it's well preserved. And we used to be able to do investigations there, but it's owned by the state of Indiana, and they decided they didn't want to do that anymore, like statewide. So it wasn't me, thankfully. But we were doing an investigation and we were getting no responses. And, you know, it's probably the same with you guys. Sometimes they are apprehensive about our digital electronic equipment. I've even gotten EVPs saying that's witchcraft. You know, they're terrified of it. So we weren't getting anything. So we had a pinwheel that we got at the Dollar Tree and cut a hole in a Solo cup and put it in the middle of our group. And everybody was sitting in chairs in a circle, and there were no windows open, no ventilation, no nothing. And we said, if there's somebody here, can you give us a sign of your presence? Can you spin the pinwheel? And all of a sudden that pinwheel started spinning really fast, and then it stopped.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we would ask, you know, are you male? And it would spin. You know, are you a boy? Like, we started after 20 minutes, we got a basic story that we were talking to a 10-year-old little boy who lived there in the 1800s, and he died there after losing his leg in some kind of accident. Well, New Harmony is so well documented that we were able to find out exactly what happened. The little boy's name was Samuel. He was 10 years old when he died after losing his leg in a freak cannon accident.
Aw.
So they must have, you know, my guess is, I mean, there were no battles here. So they were having some kind of celebration and shot off a cannon. And he was probably too close to the cannon. Maybe it backfired into him or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's a very happy little boy. He shows himself in the window sometimes to people during our ghost walks. People get pictures of a face in that window all the time. So that's, you know, that's when it's so cool, when history backs up the haunting, you know, that what you've experienced, you can document, you can look at the documents and say, yes, you know, this is true. This is real. So I love stuff like that.
Yeah. That's what, like, I've always enjoyed too. Like, we have had a couple situations where it's like things, and I find something and you're able to be like, oh, it fits the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's always so cool.
It really is. It really is. I don't know. I like digging up things that maybe people have forgotten about or they haven't talked about, because a lot of times they would bury stories that maybe didn't make them look good, you know? So when you're able to, you know, find out something that happened, you know, we're digging after a few things that we may have a hard time finding. So yeah, I don't know how much I should get into it or not. It doesn't make New Harmony look good, but this town was never kind to people of color. And the original group, they were abolitionists, so they were helpful. The second group were the same, but they didn't necessarily want anybody who wasn't white to live here. Like, they'd help, but they didn't offer them to come into the town. And in the 40s and 50s, this was a sundown town, which I'm sure you guys have heard of that. You know, there was even a sign, my parents remember, at the edge of town that's just basically said, if you're brown, you better be out of town by sundown. And, you know, we've uncovered a few stories, like not everybody was a part of that, you know, belief system. They were okay having people of color come and perform, like musicians and things of that nature, but they needed to be out of town by the time, you know, the sun went down. And there was a group of musicians who got stuck here, and a group of people protected them, locked them inside of a public building and stood guard so that, you know, they were safe for the night, and then got them out of town first thing in the morning. So so those are things that we're, you know, hesitant. Like, I found at the library, I found a document that it looks like a KKK list of people, townspeople that were KKK members. But I have been told that it's not it was Tri Kappa, which is a women's group. And I'm like, how come they're all men's signatures on this? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I got in a little bit of trouble for I published that in my book, New Harmony Ghost Stories, because there were some really prominent figures in this town that were on that list. Like, I got to see the list, but I couldn't, they wouldn't let me publish it. Like, it's a big, quiet secret. Like, I wasn't even allowed to see the list for several years until somebody finally just went back and got it for me, because I wouldn't leave them alone about it. And it was like eye-opening, like, okay, these were all members of the cake, and I know things were different back then. Maybe, I don't know. It's still, I don't forgive that at all. So, we're still on the trail of things like that, like, trying to uncover more information. Of course, we're not getting much help with that, because nobody wants that broadcast. They're like, what good could come of it? I'm like, well, it's history. It happened,
Yeah.
So.
We don't want to erase that or gloss over it, because
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what drives me crazy about a lot of people are like, well, we don't want to offend people. We don't want to do this. But if you don't bring it out and you don't learn from it, then the chances of repeating it are higher. It's like the history is there to learn from it and, to know about it. It's not there to offend us. It's there to teach us this is what you don't.
Right. Yeah. So, so it's not repeated.
Yeah.
And just also, it happened, and it impacted a large group of people, and to cover it up seems disrespectful to their memory,
Yeah. I never understood why you'd want to cover up something that's, a part of a past. And we all have past, we all, learn from it, and we all move on. And I have a cat that's getting ready to attack another cat. So I'm going to have a cat fight going here in a second.
Yeah, I have my office door shut, because otherwise I'd have cats in here fighting too. I'm surprised. Usually they dig at the door, like, the whole time. If I shut the door, they'll dig at the door and yowl. So I don't have any of that going on. Everybody's being quiet. Oh, hi, baby.
Yeah, this is Azu.
Hi, beautiful kitty.
He doesn't look like the baby, but he's the baby.
Okay. How many cats do you have?
I have 3. I have 4 dogs and 3 cats. I keep teasing needing a 4th cat to make it even, but my husband won't go for that. But yeah, he's the youngest, and so he's the most playful. And I have my other cat Simba on the floor, and that's who he's trying to attack.
Of course,
dragging his tail and trying to attack. So.
Yeah. I have 5.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I have 5 cats. One of them is mostly outside, just because he was found outside. He just wandered up. He actually broke into my house. Like, I had put a catio. He's still young. Like, he's been around for a year now. And I let him in at night because I don't want him to get eaten. But the way I finally said, all right, I'll keep you, was he kept breaking into my house. I'd come in the kitchen, and there he is sitting on the kitchen floor looking at me. I'm like, it took me a while to figure out how he was getting in. I have a catio on my back porch, and he was somehow squeezing in between the catio and the house and squeezing down into the window. And he, there was no keeping him out. So I'm like, all right, fine. I guess I've got another cat,
That's so funny.
So he's mostly outside, though, because that's where he needs to be. If he's not outside, he's yowling and, making life difficult for everybody else. So I just like, all right, fine, go outside,
I wonder if I could use that as an excuse. Just say, the cat came through the dog door. We just haven't.
Exactly. It actually is kind of funny. We had a similar situation on the house we lived at before. My mom, like, when she got it, kind of opened it up because it was vacant for a handful of months. And she was like cleaning, dusting, because there was a lot of dust and stuff. And she's cleaning, and then this cat just like walks through the back door. And then she like looked at him, and he like looked at her, and then basically was like, "You want to stay here?" And he basically was like, "Yeah." He's like, he doesn't try to go back outside or anything. He's just like, the second he's just like, "Okay, I'm good." And he's got so fat, it's so ridiculous. Yeah.
Those are the best. Yeah. I actually, one of my cats came in that way as well. I had just moved here 10 years ago, and I live in a mobile home, and it needed so much work. I bought it sight unseen and got here and was just mortified at what my family thought would be okay for me to live in. And
Oh no.
so I immediately had to hire, construction to come in and remove all the floors and replace them, replace the nasty carpeting. But while they were working, there was a thunderstorm one day and they had the back door open and they were all standing out on the back porch smoking. And I heard him say something about a kitten. And I'm like, what? There's a kitten? And they're like, yeah, she followed us up onto the porch. And she came in and she walked in through the door. She, a little tortie, and walked all throughout the house and sniffed around, found my bedroom and hopped up on the foot of my bed and went to sleep. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got another cat.
There you go.
Oh,
The cats
cute.
always find you, right? That's how.
Yeah.
That's always how it
Yeah, I think so. Well, now Romeo, my outdoor guy, he chases them off. So I don't think I have to worry about any more coming up because he's making sure, like, I'm the last one, you
Yep.
know.
Well, on that note, why don't you tell our audience where they can find you and find out more about you and your books and all that stuff?
Okay, well, I have a website and there's two ways to find it. Either jonimayhan.com or hauntednewharmony.com will lead you there. And I'm on Facebook. I have an author page that I really ignore. So I just recommend finding my regular Facebook page. And as long as somebody isn't creepy, I'll accept the friendship. But, my books are all on Amazon.com. So that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. I'm glad we were able to get you back on. Thank you again for all the help you've given me with my book. I so appreciate it. And I definitely, recommend everyone go check out Joni. Definitely go to, Amazon, buy her books and do her ghost tour because, local small businesses definitely need to support one another. So
absolutely
go do that for her.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. And if anybody has written a book and wants somebody to format it and put it up on Amazon for sale for them, I'm your person for that as well. So
yes, she does a wonderful job. So go do that.
Yes. I have one actually that came in over the weekend that you're reminding me that I was supposed to start today. So I got to start that one. But probably as soon as I get off this call, I need to start working on that. So.
Well, you go work on that, and we thank you for being on tonight. And I know, we'll be in touch. But have a wonderful night, and good luck with that.
Thank you. All right, take care.
All
right, bye.
All right, everyone. That was Joni. You can check her out. Definitely, I preach this all the time, and I'm never going to stop preaching this. If you're going to do a ghost tour, make sure it's locally owned. Don't do those nationwide ones. If you go on a website and you're seeing that they have tours in like 10 different states, find the one that does not. Support the small little guy. We're the ones suffering from these, big nationwide people that don't deserve your business for sure because they're not doing the research and they're not doing anything right.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. So, Kyrra, it is getting that time. We have some busy things coming up for us.
Yes.
More investigations. Like I said, I'm working on my second book and all of you are going to be involved. We're doing it pretty much the same, but a little bit different because everyone's going to have kind of more of an input than they did in the last book. And we're keeping track of different things like, what kind of night, the weather, things like that. So it's going to have a little bit different of an outlook to it, but, it's still going to be about the paranormal. It's still going to be about true, ghost stories. Really looking forward to, what we have coming up on Saturday. I don't want to say it right now because, don't need people showing up.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we got some really cool stuff coming up. I'm really excited. We do have a podcast coming up in a couple weeks, as long as nothing happens, we should have podcasts going for up until the end of July. But if we end up with an investigation, then we'll have to postpone one. I know we've been really bad at getting the podcast out every other Monday because we've had so much going on. But we're going to try to keep up on this. Last time it was Memorial Day weekend and I was out of town. I went to see my cousin in El Paso. So we are back. We'll be hopefully back in 2 weeks as long as nothing comes up. But other than that, I'm going to let you go ahead and do your sign off.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks, Joni, for hopping on talking with us today. And as always, stay spooky.
Yeah, and again, thanks to Joni. Check her out. And TucsonGhostCompany.com to keep up on us, the podcast, the team. My book is also available on Amazon. There it is. I'm Paranormal. Thank you for all those that have bought the book. It's been doing pretty decent. I really, love the reviews I'm getting. So thank you. It means a lot to me. And like I said, TucsonGhostCompany.com, that'll lead you to everything. Our, Facebook, our Instagram, all that stuff. So that's the main site you need to know. Until we're back in a couple of weeks, remember, you're never truly alone. Good night, everyone.